So after Muhammad Mokaev beat Manel Kape in a fight at UFC 304, Dana White decided not to re-sign him to the UFC. It was the last fight on his contract. He wanted to be re-signed by the UFC, but Dana White has said that they're not interested in re-signing him, and even said that the PFL should be his next move, which is something that we don't normally hear from Dana White. Maybe tomorrow I'll do a breakdown of his whole press conference that he did, because it might have been one of the darkest Dana Whites we have ever seen. Okay? He was really in a bad mood at that press conference. So maybe that needs a whole other video. But Muhammad Mokaev, UFC flyweight, undefeated in the UFC. He's now been released from the UFC. And we're never going to see him again. And this is a big talking point. And there's a lot that goes into this that we need to talk about as well. A lot of people have some stories that may indicate why Muhammad Mokaev was released by the UFC. Let's start straight away with Dana White's statement on Muhammad Mokaev after his fight with Manel Kape. Of course, you know the fight was really boring. Neither guy really did anything. Kape broke his toe. Mokaev didn't break anything. Still did nothing in the fight whatsoever. It was dull and boring after a massive amount of build-up and them acting like they wanted to tear each other's heads off before the fight began, only to do nothing once the fight began. Here we go.
What did you make of the Mokaev and Manel Kape drama? Like, you know, they had that run-in at the PI. They had that run-in at the hotel.
There was so much bad shit that happened in the behind the scenes with that thing.
Shout out to MMA Crazy for this footage, by the way. A lot of stuff going on. So a lot of people are just saying, oh, Dana White doesn't like the Dagestani style of fighting. I've seen a lot of that. There are so many Dagestanis. There are so many Dagestanis in the UFC with that style that have not been cut from the UFC. In fact, I would say Mokaev is probably one of the biggest names. Even if it's not someone that you're the most excited by in terms of their rise in the flyweight division, maybe that would go to a Tatsuro Taira, or if Van would have beaten Johnson, he would have had maybe a bit more excitement from the fan base. But Mokaev definitely is one of the biggest names. I do not think this is just because of his fight style. And Dana White seems to mention that, as he just said, there's a lot of things going on in the build up to this fight.
And yeah, not good.
Mokaev said that his contract is up, and he made this interesting remark that said someone at the UFC told him to stop shooting for these takedowns so much, and maybe he'll get this contract that he wants. Is that true, and do you think he'll bring him back?
Yeah, that's what we tell guys. We tell guys how to fight and tell them what we've been doing this for a long time. I'm sure one of the matchmakers probably said something to him or whatever, but yeah, the matchmakers aren't big fans of his for many different reasons, and not just there's a lot of people who shoot takedowns in this business. You know, a lot of guys that fight with that type of style, but it's a lot more than just that.
But
interesting, very interesting. It's not, and I agree with Dana here, because there are a lot of fighters on the roster that are even like, they're not even top contenders. They're not even big names like Mokaev with a lot of a big Instagram following and a big audience behind him. There's a lot of fighters with this style that are unranked. You know what I mean? They are boring, typically. Every fight they have. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but Bilal just became champ, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? So, well, not for Christ's sake. But either way, Bilal just became champ. Okay? So there's a lot of fighters with a boring style. Maybe not as fucking boring and pathetic looking as Manel Kape, Muhammad Mokaev, which maybe is the reason why Dana White cut him from the UFC. Maybe he just, you know, went above and beyond when it came to being pathetic in fights. But Mokaev has some finishes. It's not like he's never had a finish before in his career, which there are other fighters who have never had finishes before in their UFC career. He's had, I mean, they kept Arlovsky around. Perfect example. Arlovsky, he's now gone, but they kept him for a long time when all he was doing was having boring shit fights, where he was just having sparring sessions, and they were paying him like $400,000 to show for those fights. So this isn't the reason, but Dana White just said the matchmakers, apparently there's some other problems with Muhammad Mokaev.
Mokaev is the guy that you'd want to bring back to the UFC, because he said his contract is totally done now.
Yeah, he is. He's under contract. He's not under contract anymore.
Okay,
so you're gonna re-sign him, Dana?
Would you be interested in, you know, keeping him around in the fall?
I think the PFL is going to get a great undefeated guy.
Really?
Good luck to him. Yeah.
What about Manel? Because we saw even before the fight even started, he was trying to run it.
That's tough. That's tough. They then go on to talk about Manel Kape a little bit. That's tough, though. I think the PFL is going to have a real good guy in their division. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think PFL has a flyweight division. They might do. And maybe I've just been living under a rock and I've never seen them compete. I'm fairly certain they don't have a flyweight division, if I'm not mistaken. I think Bellator didn't have one either, which is why we saw like Sergio Pettis fighting at bantamweight over there, and some of the other former flyweights from the UFC would move up to bantamweight to fight at PFL. Even ONE FC, we saw DJ move up. So there aren't many options for flyweights outside of the UFC. There really aren't. It's the kind of the UFC or nothing, and even the UFC was considering, you know, cutting that division for a while. So that's interesting to hear him say go to the PFL, knowing that PFL don't have the structure in a flyweight division to like utilize Muhammad Mokaev. He's going to have to move up and fight bigger guys at bantamweight. And judging by how he's been looking at flyweight, that's not going to be good for him. But keep going, Dana.
Muhammad Mokaev, the security had to get in there before the first bell even rang.
Yeah, because just so much dumb shit is happening. It's like, I mean, we couldn't even have a face-off. But it's the typical, it was one of those typical kind of fights. We've all seen this before over the years. Oh, I can't wait to get to you. I can't wait to get to you. Oh, I'm going to fucking kill you. And then 5 minutes and they don't do anything for the first 5 minutes of the fight. I mean, it's just, we kind of figured that's how that fight would go. It's, you know, historically, that's how they go.
It's typically true.
Last one on this one.
But honestly, no, it's kind of not true in a way, because we do have a lot of bad blood matchups which don't end up being boring. There are some that do. But it's normally ones where even if there isn't bad blood, you go like, this is no way this can be boring. Then it sometimes backfires. We see it with Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou. But I'm thinking like Usman Covington, the first fight. They were on each other straight away, trying to hurt each other. And we've had, I mean, well, I would have said Khabib McGregor, but Khabib shot for the fucking legs and laid on him for 5 minutes in the first round. But either way, certain fighters, especially like certain fighters, they go to scrap when they got real beef to it.
When you said the PFL is going to get an undefeated fighter, is that his fighting style? Is that he's asking for too much money? What is, why?
None of the above.
He already answered that earlier.
Listen, for whatever reason, listen, the stuff that played out here over the last several months, that started at the PI and other stories of, this breaking out, plus many other things. These guys don't want to re-sign him.
And he's talking about the matchmakers there as well. These guys don't want to sign him. So it's not even Dana White's decision, really. But apparently, I guess he was told going into this, like, we aren't signing Muhammad Mokaev again. And I'm going to go through some of those reasons, because a lot of people are just saying, it's the fight style, he's boring, he asked for too much money. And then we look at this from Muhammad Mokaev. I'm going to go through some things here, but he's going to say something towards the end of these clips that I've put together that really might be a fucking reason as to why he's not getting re-signed. Because, of course, remember, Manel Kape accused him of taking a photo with him for his Muslim brothers to show unity amongst Muslims, and then went on to attack Manel Kape after taking that picture and allegedly knocked him down with a punch before their fight, just before the weigh-ins as well, which is kind of insane. And in this interview, Mokaev admits to it, but there's a little bit more to begin with that we're going to chuckle at, to be honest with you.
Yes, I want to fight for the belt, and I hope UFC give me a new contract. I'm finished. My contract is finished with UFC. I hope they give me a new contract. I know they want excited fights. I try to put my striking together.
You're done. You're done, bruv. That was him trying to put some shit together, you know. They warned him going into this, by the way. He mentions this in a second. They warned him going in that they wanted a bit more of an exciting fight, and that was him. Trust me, guys, I try to make it exciting for you guys, but I'm a pussy. I don't know how to even describe it, but it's funny to hear him say that he wants to re-sign and wants to fight for the belt because now he's gone. But that was him trying to make it fun. So he got a warning, like, don't make this boring. And he was like, all right, bet, I've got this. It's going to be fun, don't worry. You know what I mean? And that was him putting it all together. Interesting.
5 days before my Alex Perez fight.
This is him talking about the original encounter with Manel Kape.
I met with Manel. He headbutted me. if you watch my Alex Perez.
Now, we have a bystander to this, Eric Nixick, that says they were both on smoke when they saw each other at the UFC PI, which is very important to note, and we're going to get to what Eric Nixick says in a moment because he's always around at the Apex. Apparently, he was talking to a lot of fighters. He knows every fighter knows Nixick. Nixick knows every fighter. You know how it is. But he said that Manel Kape headbutted him at the Apex, so that confirms that rumor that Gene Silver was telling. But then we go on to this bit as well, which is at 152. And this is when Muhammad Mokaev described something he did to Manel Kape.
So we shook hands with Manel. And in one of the whoever asked me about Las Vegas, I said it was between me and Kape stays in Vegas. And in the interview, he said once he comes to Manchester, he gonna do it second time. So I couldn't come close to him in the hotel. So I told him, let's come take picture. And once he came, I dropped him. And I had to do it because I'm not somebody I'm not Alex Perez, I'm not other guys who somebody can bully me.
He just admitted... Right, here we go, Mokaev, because you fucked up your whole career here, you little product of inbreeding. What is going on between your fucking eyes and ears? Is there a brain in there? Why the fuck would you admit to doing that, you pussy? One more time, so we know just why you were fucking cut from the UFC, you idiot.
And once he came in the hotel, so I told him, let's come take picture. And once he came, I dropped him. And I had to do it.
So you tricked Manel Kape. Come here, no, it's all good. We'll take a picture for our... And Manel Kape alleges that this was... He said, come and take a picture. We'll show the Muslims solidarity between us. And we'll show Muslim solidarity with each other. And Eric Nixick confirms this in a second as well. So Mokaev admitted right there to... Because he doesn't want to go up to Kape and just start a fight with him the way Kape did at the Apex, which Nixick will also confirm in a second, he baited Manel Kape into believing that there was no beef, got on a friendship level with him, come and take a picture, we'll show solidarity for our Muslim brothers, and then dropped him with a punch when he wasn't ready for it whatsoever after you bamboozled him with a fake photograph to show Muslim solidarity. I wonder how Muslims feel about this, first of all, because I know they're real strict. And I'm sure they're going to hold Mokaev accountable for that, using the idea of Muslim solidarity to justify assaulting Manel Kape is insane. I'm sure the whole community is going to be attacking Mokaev for that. I bet they are. I ain't seen a single bit of criticism for it yet. Either way, that's a bitch move. That's why you got cut. Well done. Have fun competing at bantamweight in PFL. The fuck you doing? Think in your brain before you speak, you moron. And he just said there, I had to do it. Of course, that's the only way you're fucking dropping someone. Innit? I had to do it. Of course you had to do it. You ain't drop a fucking guy yet. So you had to trick him in order to get a knockdown in a street fight. That was what it took for Mokaev to knock down Manel Kape, was to trick him into a photo and then drop him. And people are wondering why this guy got cut from the UFC. That's one of the bitchiest moves. We're going to go on to some other bits here at 402. But that just shocked me that he just openly admitted that. Like, I'm a pussy bitch that tricked Manel Kape and then dropped him very close to the fight that we were about to have. And then when I did get a chance to fight him, I did fucking nothing to him, even though he was on one foot because he broke his big toe and couldn't put weight on his right leg. And I arguably still lost. This guy's confused as to why he got fucking cut. The fuck you doing? 402, there's a bit more to this as well. What did he say here at the end?
In front, did they try to give you a new contract before this fight?
They said they're going to see how I perform. They don't want to see me keep shooting and taking somebody down, but I've done what I could do with like tonight, yeah.
And that's another reason. So they've told him before the fight. I bet you they didn't say, we're not re-signing you if this is boring, by the way. I bet you they didn't say that. I bet you, like, jokingly on the way out of one of the meetings, when Mokaev was like, I think I deserve a bit more, I think I can get an improvement on the contract. I bet you there was a meeting, and I bet you one of the matchmakers went, Well, show us some entertaining fights and maybe we'll consider it. You know what I mean? I bet you they did a chuck away line. They weren't saying we're not going to re-sign you, but they were saying we're going to help improve your contract and get you these big paydays you want if you actually start putting on good performances. And you saw what Mokaev said there. That was him under the pressure of trying to put on a good performance. What the fuck is Mokaev going to look like when he's not trying to put on a good performance? They told me to make it fun, so I did what I could, you know? And it was still one of the shittest fights in UFC history where you did nothing. And Kape had been dropped, but now this does change a bit. Kape had been dropped leading up to the fight, just during weigh-ins, by the way. As he's cutting weight, he got dropped and he broke his toe in the fight, and you still couldn't put together any damage on him at all. What do you want? Get out. Eric Nixick talks about his version of events here as well. And this will clear up a lot about Dana White's side of things and Muhammad Mokaev's side of things and Manel Kape's side of things. Here we go.
A lot of drama surrounding Manel's fight. Yesterday, there was kind of an altercation that you were there for. What happened exactly outside the hotel?
You know, it's unfortunate, man, because these guys get paid to fight. They get paid to fight in the cage. But it was a very weird situation because we were all walking back into the hotel, and then Mokaev and his team were coming out. They were very peaceful, and Mokaev offered he wanted to take a picture with Manel. He said, "For our Muslim brothers, let's take a picture for peace." Take a picture with Manel. He said, "For our Muslim brothers, let's take a picture for peace," and Manel agreed to that picture. And it just felt weird. The whole situation kind of felt weird, but I turned my back to talk to Oban Elliott. And then all of a sudden, when Manel posed for that picture, Mokaev, like, sucker punched him. So this whole thing ensued. It was so confusing for me because, like, I turned around and all of a sudden there was this commotion behind me. So it's unfortunate, man. It's crazy because that could ultimately have costed both guys the fight.
So, again, it's another perspective of this story. And the UFC has now cut him, so they must believe and have maybe been told by some security and staff that this is how it went down as well. Mokaev and his team went up to Manel Kape, all friendly and respectful, got a picture with him to show Muslim unity, as Nixick seems to suggest that's what he suggested. Manel Kape said he suggested the same thing. Show Muslim unity, come on, it's all peace. Let's have peace, let's be peaceful. Gets the picture with Kape and sucker punch drops him. Pussy behavior. I don't give a fuck if fighters are getting into scraps on fight week. It's fun. I really don't care. If Manel Kape and Mokaev, and I'll get to what Nixick says about this part of it as well in a second, if they're in agreement that they're going to scrap on site and Kape one-on-one goes up to Mokaev at the Apex and starts beef with him and headbutts him, I'm all for that. That's how it is. They're both fighters. That's going to happen. Tricking him into, oh, it's so friendly, brother. Come take a picture for Muslim solidarity. And then sleeps him, drops him at the hotel while he's cutting weight. You're a bitch. Have fun at PFL in a division that don't even exist for you. The fuck you doing, man? This is some bitch shit. 1 minute 50 as well. This is where Nixick confirms something as well here.
Understanding with Manel, and there was some back and forth on Instagram or Twitter.
This is about the original encounter that they had at the PI.
Or whatever it was. But the beef was, if I see you, you and I are going to fight. And they saw each other, and I believe they got in a fight. The difference between that and anything that you do is the approach. The approach was, with Mokaev and the team, was we're being peaceful. And we fight on Saturday, and let's show our Muslim brothers peace and salam and all that. You know, they were speaking very friendly to one another, and then for that to pop off. So
that's kind of fucking... I ain't seen a single bit of Muslim backlash against Mokaev for that, you know. Insane. They love to... They're ready to go at anyone who disrespects anything. That might be one of the biggest... And Kape called him a false prophet ages ago. And people gave Kape shit for calling him that. But he kind of soul-read him there as well. That's a Muslim on it, like really sticking true to his beliefs. Let me trick you and fake a picture for Muslim unity around the world so I can knock you down because I'm incapable of doing it in a real fight anyway. That's one of the craziest things. I think there'd be more backlash from Mokaev, but None, I guess.
So the energy was very different in this. We're speaking very friendly to one another, and then for that to pop off. So the energy was very different in this situation. You know, we're a couple days away from fighting. Let's get paid to do it. So, and if that's the approach, then that's the approach. But if you walk up man to man and you square up with somebody and you know there's a problem, you tell them, now when I see there's a problem, then we know what time it is, you know. But
that's what happened. First time they met each other, Kape and Mokaev, they've been beefing non-stop, saying they're going to fuck each other up, all this shit. They see each other at the Apex. Kape goes up to him, they square off, and Kape attacks him and fucks him up, basically. And that's how he got the cut on his eye. And Mokaev even admitted that in this interview as well. I can't remember if I've already showed you that, but I think he got to saying it about the Alex Perez fight, which is why he had that cut over his eye. Apparently, Manel Kape actually caused that cut on Muhammad Mokaev because they got into a scrap. But that's what I'm talking about. One-on-one. They both know it's going down. They get into a scrap with each other. Manel Kape wins it. It is what it is. Tricking him. It's all good with friends. Bullshit shit right there. And Eric Nixick detailed that. Then we got Hadley. I want to be a UFC fighter. He gives his opinion on this as well. And Hadley's had another story about Mokaev trying to start fights as well. So there's more. It's not just trying to rip down someone's shorts in the middle of the fight. And basically, I mean, maybe he was inspired by the Paris Olympic opening ceremony. Who knows? We don't need this shit on our TV screen, Muhammad Mokaev. I'm starting to think you're not really the religion you say you are, brother, because that was real haram behavior. Twice in 1 week you've been quite haram, haven't you, mate? Tut tut. Honestly, it's kind of weird. Ripping down his shorts, like revealing Manel Kape's anus to the world. That was his intention by grabbing the shorts. I don't know what else he was trying to do. He was legitimately trying to pants Manel Kape in the middle of the octagon. Confusing as fuck, but again, product of inbreeding, weird decision-making, erratic decision-making, no thoughts between, you know, aggression, very quick to snap to violence. You know how it goes in that inbreeding culture. It is what it is. But we see this as well here from Jake Hadley, just to end it off.
Jake, a guy you've had a lot of back and forth with in Muhammad Mokaev won tonight. I wonder what you thought of his performance.
I thought he was fucking... I mean, I thought he was boring, but he's an idiot, man. He's just trying to fight everyone in the back. He sucker punched Manel Kape and all.
So he's confirming it as well. Remember, this isn't... Jake Hadley was earlier on the card and had been early on the card, and I doubt he just listened to Mokaev's post-fight speech. But this is obviously something that's gone around backstage. Like, you know, Mokaev sucker punched Manel Kape in the hotel after like baiting him in for a picture or some shit.
All these geezers and that, but he's a clown, man. He tried to start on me on the buzz yesterday, but I'll smash his head in, you know what I mean? That idiot.
All right. And this is from a year ago. A while ago. This is from UFC 286, when they both fought on the same card for Edwards versus Usman 3. Another card in the UK. And another encounter for Hadley by Mokaev. Just going to bring up an example that this dude's starting a lot of shit behind the scenes. And if this is the stuff we're hearing about, I imagine the matchmakers know about a lot more shit that Mokaev is up to behind the scenes. Because he is a big name. So I doubt they're just cutting him like you're a detriment to the company. Because I actually think if Mokaev was a champion, he'd bring more attention than Pantoja. I know Pantoja has wars, but in terms of like a pre-fight interview, Mokaev's is going to get more views than Pantoja's. If he's a champion, of course.
Speaking of Muhammad Mokaev, he was in here earlier.
So this is from ages ago.
And he said he saw you at in the hotel. He said something to you and nothing was said back. Has it been weird being around him this fight week?
Well, the kid's just an idiot, isn't he? I mean, he's coming over to me trying to fight me in the hotel. I mean, but he don't want to fight me in the cage. You know, he's fighting a debut guy. You know what I mean? He was like, I won't fight you because you lose against Allen and all this. Like, but then he wants to fight me in the hotel. Like, what is this guy doing? He's a total idiot. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, if there's such a problem with me, then why don't you just fight me then in a cage fight? You know what I mean? We can't be fighting here. People...
Like, it's crazy to me that the guy who's so not on smoke in the cage has fucking smoke for everyone behind the scenes. Like, Mokaev's walking around. Again, his nickname's The Punisher. He's walking around like The Punisher behind the scenes. You can almost hear the Doom theme music playing whenever Mokaev's walking around any hotel before a fight's coming up. Just ready to lash out at someone and attack them over, like, beef online, I guess. But in, like, a way of jumping them. Not in a way of, me and you, let's scrap right now. You were talking shit, let's get to it right here. Tricking them into, like, damaging them before fights. And in the cage, he's, like, the worst. He basically tries to not harm his opponent as much as he possibly can. The difference is, in his energy is insane. Behind the scenes, security between you, knowing people are going to separate it, tricking people into standing close to you for a picture so you can knock them down. And in the second the cage closes and it's time to really prove what you're all about, you're diving for legs like a coward. It's insane.
People are going to...
And not just diving for legs. Takedowns are a part of the game. He's like on his knees, on a single leg, stalling out fights. Anytime he gets sort of backed up against a cage, he'll shoot a bad takedown and just lay there on his knees, and then everything resets. Like, he just stalls out a war. Like, any chance of entertainment in the fight, Mokaev is doing his best to mitigate that.
Break it up. People are going to get in trouble. You know what I mean? We can't be fighting here. People are going to break it up. People are going to get in trouble. What's going to happen if I sock him in his face when he comes and closes the distance? You know, I've already had staff complain about me before, so they're going to be complaining, oh, you knocked Mokaev out and all this in the back, and they're all going to moan at me. But
that's some good confidence in himself right there. Jake Hadley didn't say he's going to get in trouble for getting into a scrap with Mokaev. He said,
what you doing? You're going to start a fight with me, and then I'm going to get in trouble for knocking you out.
That's self-belief right there. He didn't say, I'm
going to get in trouble for starting a fight backstage. So what's the point? Fight me in the cage. Because otherwise, you start a fight with me, and I'm going to get in trouble. They're going to say, what you doing knocking Mokaev out?
He knows what he would do to Mokaev, guys. We know Jake Hadley beats Mokaev.
You know what I mean? So, and I'm the one who's painted as the bad guy all the while. But yet he's coming over to me. He's like, bro, like, man, relax, back up, bro. You know what I mean? Just take a step closer. I'm going to knock you clean out. You know what I mean? But he's an idiot. But I think if there's so much of a problem, then either fight me or turn up at my gym or something, because he's in Birmingham all the while anyway, and I'll fucking bang you out there. No problem about it.
No, Jones. Pause.
But, you know, why are you trying to fight me in the hotel? It makes no sense, you know what I mean? Like, because then his fight's going to be off. Then my fight's going to be off. And it's going to be, we've trained all this time for nothing. Dumb kid.
So in
Logic prevails from Hadley. Logic. And that's Hadley dropping some IQ. Okay? I don't know if he's got some to spare. I'm not saying he's dumb, but, like, you know, it's basic. I'm not saying he's dumb. This doesn't even deserve praise as being smart, is what I'm saying here. This is like common sense. What you doing, Mokaev, behind scenes? I almost wish he was still in the UFC now so he could just jump Pantoja somewhere, trick him into having some acai, and then sleep him on camera or some shit. And then when it comes to fighting Pantoja, he just fucking scoots around, taps inside low kicks, and fails single legs for 25 minutes. I almost feel like we should have made this a meme. Maybe Dana did jump the gun. But what I'm saying is, people are online right now saying, I can't believe they did that. Who cares if he's boring? He's winning. There's clearly other reasons that they're just completely ignoring. This guy's a menace. Anywhere but the cage. This guy's a menace, it feels like. So yeah. I don't mind that he's been cut. It's sad, but I get a video out of it. Big news. Made more headlines being cut from the UFC than anything you did inside it. So there you go. Kind of tough for Mokaev, but I think this is good for the UFC because based on his previous performances, it's not like anyone's going to be like, well, Mokaev would have dominated Pantoja. Like, no, it's very easy to make the argument that the top level guys that are that level above Manel Kape, and even Manel Kape, if he did have a toe intact and had both of his feet for that fight, and even if he didn't, there's still an argument he could have won it. So there's still an argument all the top guys can beat Mokaev. It's not going to detriment the UFC flyweight division. I just think they realized that there's not much promotable personalities down there. So all they're looking for now is some scraps. And if you're going to be a problem outside of that, along with being boring, see you at PFL, you inbred. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you later. Goodbye.